In the quiet prelude of a fading day, a solitary road stretches out like an ancient ribbon, cracked asphalt, winding its way through a forest of skeletal trees. The wind whispers secrets as it stirs the remnants of autumn leaves, their burnt, orange and deep red hues dancing against the encroaching dusk. This is the stage where our story unfolds, a journey that promises both breathtaking beauty and dark mystery. Aurora Reed sits behind the wheel, her fingers gripping the smooth leather as if anchoring herself against the unknown. Every twist of the road, every shift in the weather feels charged with a silent urgency. The day's warmth is slipping away, replaced by a cool, almost ghostly chill that seems to seep into her very bones. It's in this moment, as the sky drapes itself in shades of dusky violet and molten gold, that the first hints of fate begin to stir. For years, Aurora had felt trapped in a life dictated by routine and mundane obligations, a life where the soul of the city, with its towering glass buildings and relentless noise, had slowly eroded her inner light. Now, on this solitary road, she embarks on a journey of escape, driven by a desperate need to reclaim the freedom she once knew. Each mile she leaves behind carries the weight of memories that no longer serve her, while the open road ahead promises the allure of something raw, something uncharted. As the wind grows stronger, the landscape transforms. The gentle hum of the car and the occasional rustle of brittle branches create a fragile symphony that underscores the isolation of the moment. The air is thick with the scent of damp earth and distant pine, evoking memories of forgotten forests and long-lost secrets. In the silence that envelops her, Aurora feels as if the world itself is holding its breath, waiting for the next chapter of her unfolding destiny. Yet amid the beauty of nature, there is a lingering sense of foreboding. The golden hues of the setting sun begin to fade as dark, heavy clouds roll in, their edges tinged with bruised gray. A shiver runs along Aurora's spine, a subtle warning that not all is as serene as it seems. The road ahead, once a symbol of liberation, now appears as a gateway into an unfolding enigma, where each shadow may conceal a deeper truth or an unexpected peril. In this fragile twilight, every sound is amplified: the whisper of the wind, the distant call of a lone bird, and the soft rhythmic beat of her own heart. It is a moment of quiet introspection, where the inner conflicts of her soul mirror the tumultuous sky. There is a palpable tension between the comforting solitude and the haunting unknown. It is as if the very essence of the night is weaving a spell around her, inviting her to step beyond the familiar and embrace the mysterious dance of fate. Here, on this winding road, Aurora stands at the precipice of a profound transformation. With a heart burdened by both hope and uncertainty, she is compelled to journey into the depths of darkness, driven by an insatiable desire to uncover what lies hidden beyond the veil of ordinary life. The delicate balance between freedom and fear, between destiny and the struggle for control, creates a suspense that is almost tangible, a suspense that will echo in every step she takes. This is the moment when the mundane dissolves into the extraordinary, when the silent promise of the night beckons with irresistible allure. It is a call to adventure, a call to delve into the mysteries of the heart and the shadows of the unknown. A call that, once answered, will forever alter the course of her destiny. Beneath the sprawling canopy of an autumn sky, the road stretched, out before Aurora Reed like a twisted ribbon of fate, cracked asphalt meandering through a landscape where nature wore its most dramatic colors. Every imperfection of the worn pavement whispered stories of journeys past, and as the sun began its slow descent, the scene transformed into a living canvas of vibrant hues and deepening shadows. The sky overhead was an ever-changing tapestry, where brilliant bursts of molten gold and dusky violet bled into one another, heralding the close of day. The dying light played upon the leaves that clung desperately to gnarled branches, setting them aflame with rich ambers, burnt oranges, and deep reds. These leaves, caught in a restless dance, swirled in the cool, fading air, each one a fleeting spark of passion against the encroaching dusk. The setting sun cast long, languid shadows that stretched like dark fingers across the road, merging with the creeping darkness in a silent, inevitable embrace. At the wheel of her car, Aurora Reed felt the weight of this impending transformation. Her grip tightened around the smooth leather, as if to anchor herself against the turbulent emotions swirling inside her. The rhythmic hum of the engine and the steady thud of her heartbeat became a counterpoint to the symphony of nature around her. Every moment felt charged with a premonition, a promise of secrets ready to be unveiled as the storm began its descent. As the horizon dimmed, the wind gathered strength, rustling through the trees and sending cascades of fallen leaves skittering across the road. The playful dance of light and shadow turned into a fierce contest as the golden warmth of the day was slowly overpowered by an icy, almost spectral chill. Aurora's eyes, fixed on the road ahead, betrayed a glimmer of trepidation that belied her determined exterior. She could feel the first tremors of the storm, a subtle shift in the air, a murmur of approaching turmoil that made her pulse quicken. In that charged atmosphere, the world outside seemed to hold its breath. The twisting road, now a solitary pathway through an arena of nature's raw emotion, appeared both inviting and forbidding. It was as if the very elements conspired to signal that nothing in life remains constant, that change is the only truth. With every mile, the horizon receded, drawing her deeper into a realm where the boundary between reality and myth began to blur. Aurora's thoughts flickered like the dancing leaves, each one a reminder of her past, a life filled with confinement and unfulfilled dreams. Now here on this desolate road, every shadow held the promise of escape. Every gust of wind carried an echo of freedom. The impending storm was not just a meteorological event, it was a metaphor for the internal upheaval stirring within her, a harbinger of transformation that she could neither deny nor resist. The descent of the storm brought with it an intensity that was both exhilarating and intimidating. The atmosphere thickened, charged with an electric energy that seemed to set the very air on fire. In that moment, as the first droplets began to fall like tiny crystalline daggers from the darkening sky, Aurora felt as if she were suspended at the crossroads of destiny. The elements around her, the twisting road, the riot of autumn colors, and the encroaching gloom, conspired to create a scene of surreal beauty and imminent peril. And so, with a final, resolute tightening of her grip on the steering wheel, Aurora pressed onward. She was no longer merely a traveler on a deserted highway. She was an unwitting participant in a grand, unfolding drama. The storm was descending, and with it, the promise of a destiny that would forever alter the course of her life. Aurora's mind raced with memories of a past she had long yearned to leave behind. In the rear-view mirror of her life, she saw a blurred montage of a confining existence, a suffocating city where towering glass buildings and endless noise imprisoned her spirit, a job that drained her energy and dimmed the light in her eyes, and a loveless relationship that had slowly withered into an echo of what once was. Every mile on the open road was a silent goodbye to the chains of monotony and expectation that had held her captive for far too long. As the car cruised along the deserted highway, Aurora's thoughts unfurled like the endless ribbon of asphalt ahead. I had been living a life scripted by others, she mused, her inner voice both mournful and defiant. A life where responsibilities smothered my dreams and every day was measured in routines rather than passion. The weight of regret and the ache of unfulfilled desires slowly began to lift with each passing moment, replaced by an intoxicating sense of liberation. Here, in the cool embrace of the descending night and the freedom of the open road, she found a spark of hope, a promise of transformation that whispered to her heart. The rhythm of the engine became a steady companion to her introspection, its hum a soft lullaby that accompanied the cadence of her thoughts. She recalled the long, sleepless nights spent in an office that felt more like a prison than a place of ambition, the sterile corridors of a city that never allowed her true self to breathe, and the hollow echoes of a relationship that offered little more than routine comfort. Now, Every turn of the steering wheel was an act of defiance, a declaration of independence from a past that had defined her only by what she was forced to become. The open road stretched before her like a blank canvas, each mile offering a chance to rewrite her story. Aurora could feel the pulse of the universe in the gentle sway of the trees and the soft murmur of the wind, each element resonating with the rhythm of a newfound freedom. "This is my escape," she thought, a quiet conviction blooming within her. "I am shedding the layers of what I was to become something entirely my own." The thrill of uncertainty mingled with the promise of endless possibilities, transforming her apprehension into a daring anticipation. In that serene yet charged moment, the car was more than just a vessel. It was her gateway to a life uncharted. The horizon beckoned with an enigmatic glow, a promise of secrets and adventures that lay hidden in the folds of the unknown. With every passing minute, the past receded like a fading dream, replaced by a present filled with promise and an uncertain future that called to her with irresistible allure. Aurora's heart swelled with a mixture of relief and excitement as she embraced the unknown. The once oppressive sounds of the city were now replaced by the soothing cadence of nature, each element of the journey a reminder that she was finally free. The open road was not merely a path to physical destination. It was a pilgrimage toward the rediscovery of herself, a journey that would unveil layers of strength, passion, and wonder she never knew existed. In the quiet solitude of the night, under the watchful gaze of the cosmos, Aurora resolved to let go of the past. She would no longer allow the ghosts of lost dreams to dictate her future. With a deep, steadying breath and eyes fixed on the mysterious horizon, she welcomed the journey ahead, a journey that promised to transform her from the inside out, one breathtaking mile at a time. As the horizon surrendered to twilight, the landscape began to transform in subtle yet profound ways. The warm glow of sunset, which had bathed the road in a soft, inviting radiance, slowly gave way to an encroaching chill. The once comforting amber light faded into a muted palette of silver and blue, and with it, the atmosphere around Aurora grew mysteriously cold and unnervingly still. The rhythmic hum of the engine, steady and familiar moments before, now seemed to echo into the emptiness like a solitary heartbeat. Every vibration resonated through the car's frame, mingling with the low murmur of the wind as it stirred the leaves on the roadside. The scent of damp earth and decaying foliage, once a comforting reminder of nature's cycle, now took on a more ominous note. It mingled with the sharp tang of rain that hinted at an impending downpour, heightening Aurora's awareness of the changing conditions. With each mile, the road appeared to shrink into a narrow path flanked by towering silhouettes of ancient trees. Their gnarled branches stretched outward like skeletal arms, casting elongated shadows that seemed to creep and merge with one another. The interplay of light and dark created a haunting mosaic on the cracked asphalt, a visual symphony of nature's transition. The fading light was no longer a gentle farewell to the day, but an eerie prelude to something unknown, as if the dying sun was reluctantly relinquishing its hold on a world poised on the edge of transformation. Aurora could sense that the elements were conspiring around her. The once harmonious chorus of nature had given way to an unsettling silence, punctuated only by the occasional rustle of leaves and the distant roll of thunder. It was as if the forest was holding its breath, waiting in anticipation, or perhaps even plotting against the lone traveler speeding through its midst. The air itself felt charged, dense with an unspoken promise of change and the inexplicable energy of a coming storm. Outside the window, the vibrant hues of autumn slowly dissolved into a palette of ghostly grays and eerie blues. The once familiar scenery was now shrouded in a veil of mist, blurring the outlines of trees and hills and lending the world an almost otherworldly quality. Every detail, the glistening droplets on weathered leaves, the uneven textures of the roadside rock, the faint ripple on a puddle, was imbued with a cinematic quality that made the ordinary seem extraordinary, and, at times, ominously surreal. The Puan, Transformation in the weather was more than just a shift in temperature. It was a palpable transition in mood. Aurora's heart pounded a steady rhythm in sync with the car's engine, a metronome counting down the seconds until the storm would break. There was a curious tension in the air, a sense that nature, in all its majestic unpredictability, was orchestrating this change deliberately. It felt as though the very elements were aligning to push her further into a realm where the past was left far behind, and every moment was pregnant with the possibility of the unknown. Even as the cold began to seep through the window, drawing shivers along her spine, a part of Aurora felt inexplicably drawn to this eerie transition. The contrast between the fading warmth of the day and the emerging chill of the night mirrored the inner conflict of her own journey, a departure from the familiar into a realm of uncertainty. The road ahead was no longer merely a route to escape. It was a living, breathing canvas of transformation, where every shifting shadow and every gust of wind hinted at secrets waiting to be unraveled. In that charged silence, with nature's conspiratorial murmur all around her, Aurora knew that her journey was entering a new, mysterious phase. The road was no longer just a path through the wilderness. It had become a gateway into a realm where the line between the known and the mysterious blurred, inviting her to step boldly into the night. The wind roared like an ancient beast unleashed, its howl echoing through the dense forest as rain began to pummel the earth with relentless fury. With every passing minute, the downpour intensified, turning the once familiar landscape into a shadowy maze of flickering shapes and haunting silhouettes. Aurora's heart raced in tandem with the storm's crescendo, a mounting tension that seeped into every pore of her being. Outside, the rain transformed the world into a blur of silver streaks and shuddering drops. Each droplet seemed to carry a whisper of secrets, clattering against the car's roof and the window panes with a sound both mesmerizing and foreboding. The steady hum of the engine was now drowned out by the cacophony of nature's onslaught, leaving Aurora to rely on the dim glow of the dashboard and the erratic flashes of lightning to guide her through the obscurity. Amidst the chaos, the interplay of light and darkness revealed fleeting shapes darting between the trees. For a split second, a mysterious form, a shadow that defied clear definition, would appear at the edge of her vision before dissolving into the swirling gloom. Aurora's eyes strained to catch a glimpse of this elusive figure, her pulse quickening with every uncertain movement. What unseen force is watching me? She wondered, the question echoing silently in her mind as the storm's wrath bore down upon her. The rain's rhythmic assault created an eerie cadence, punctuated by sudden gusts of wind that swept the forest floor like spectral fingers. Every rustle of leaves, every creak of bending branches, became a potential harbinger of danger. The trees, now towering dark sentinels, shifted and swayed in the tempest, their gnarled limbs casting sinister, elongated shadows that merged and separated in an ever-changing dance. In these fleeting moments, Aurora felt as if the forest itself was conspiring against her, a living entity that guarded its secrets with an almost sentient malice. Inside the car, the interplay of storm and shadow turned every reflection into a potential specter. The occasional flash of lightning illuminated the interior, revealing a world outside that was at once breathtaking and terrifying. Aurora's mind was a battleground of conflicting emotions. Fear intermingled with a strange, irresistible curiosity about what lay hidden in the dark. Each flicker of movement beyond the glass sent a ripple of anticipation down her spine, as if the storm had awoken something primordial, something that had been lying dormant for centuries. As the storm's intensity escalated, the lines between reality and illusion began to blur. The rain-soaked road became a mirror of distorted reflections, where every glistening puddle hinted at depths unknown, and every shadow seemed to hide an untold story. Aurora's thoughts swirled in tandem with the tempest outside, memories of past regrets, whispers of forgotten dreams, and the gnawing sense that this journey was more than a mere escape. It was a reckoning, a confrontation with forces both external and within. In the midst of this sensory onslaught, a chill that was more than just the bite of rain gripped her. It was as if an unseen presence had infiltrated the very fabric of the night, watching silently from the dark recesses of the forest. The palpable tension left her questioning every sound and every movement. Was that just the wind, or was something else lurking just beyond the reach of the headlights? The uncertainty was overwhelming, yet it stirred a spark of defiant wonder within her. The storm had become an enigma, a relentless force that both threatened and beckoned. With the persistent question, what unseen force is watching, reverberating in her mind, Aurora could not help but feel that she was on the cusp of a profound revelation. Every drop of rain, every shifting shadow, was part of a larger, mysterious design, a design that was about to reveal itself in the most unexpected of ways. Suddenly, the car lurched violently. One moment, it was smoothly, gliding along the rain-soaked road. The next, it shuddered as if gripped by a fierce hand. The engine sputtered, a stutter, a gasp, and then silence. Aurora's heart pounded as the familiar hum of the engine was replaced by an oppressive stillness. Her knuckles tightened around the steering wheel, a desperate anchor in the storm's chaos. The relentless downpour pounded the metal roof. Each drop a hammer on her already frayed nerves. The wipers fought a losing battle against the torrents of water, their rhythmic swish now irregular and frantic. Every passing second felt like an eternity as the car betrayed her, succumbing to the treacherous road. A flash of lightning illuminated the dashboard, revealing Aurora's wide, panicked eyes. Her pulse raced. "No, no, no," she whispered, voice lost amid the roar of the storm. The car coughed once more, a feeble protest, then died entirely, leaving her cocooned in darkness and relentless rain. The sudden breakdown was a shock, a betrayal that cut deeper than the icy wind seeping through the windows. Inside, the silence was deafening. The comforting vibration of the engine was gone. The only sound was the storm's fury, a cacophony of rain and howling wind, echoing like a warning in the emptiness. Aurora's mind raced, thoughts colliding in a desperate scramble. This wasn't just a mechanical failure. It was a moment of crisis, a turning point that demanded immediate action. Her eyes darted around the interior, searching for a lifeline. A glimmer of hope flickered as she reached for her phone. But in the deluge, the screen was dim and lifeless, a cruel reminder of her isolation. She was stranded, a solitary figure in a storm that seemed intent on swallowing her whole. Panic bubbled beneath her calm exterior, threatening to overwhelm her. Quick, short breaths, fast, steady heartbeat. Time was slipping away. The rain, now a relentless cascade, drummed on the roof, each beat echoing her rising anxiety. The car's betrayal was complete. It was nothing more than a cold shell on a treacherous road. In that moment, every second was charged with urgency. Every heartbeat, every drop of rain, a countdown to an uncertain fate. Aurora's mind screamed for solutions. Keep going, she urged herself, clinging to the hope that somewhere ahead a safe haven awaited, a gas station, a roadside motel, anything that could offer refuge. But the storm was unyielding. The windshield wipers, now sporadic and weak, struggled to clear the chaos of water and shadow, leaving her with a distorted view of a road that had become a river of despair. Every nerve in her body was alert, every sense heightened by the pressing danger. The car's breakdown wasn't just an inconvenience, it was a stark confrontation with her vulnerability. She was alone against the elements, a lone warrior in a battle with nature itself. The helplessness of the moment gnawed at her, but even as panic threatened to consume her, a stubborn spark of determination remained. With a trembling hand, she pulled open the door, letting the full force of the storm slam her face. The icy wind cut through her like shards of glass. For a moment, she stood in the downpour, drenched and exposed, her eyes scanning the wild, unforgiving night. The road behind her was a blur of rain, the vehicle a forgotten relic in the storm's path. In that raw, desperate moment, Aurora realized that there was no turning back. The car's failure had forced her into the heart of the storm. A storm that promised both peril and, perhaps, the unexpected beginnings of transformation. Clutching her phone and mustering her resolve, she took a steadying breath. This was the moment to step forward, into the unknown, and embrace whatever fate had in store. With no other choice, Aurora resolved to leave behind the sanctuary of the car, a frail haven now rendered useless by the unrelenting storm. The decision crystallized in the midst of chaos. She must face the tempest head-on, even if it meant venturing into the unknown. The car, once a symbol of escape, had betrayed her, leaving her with nothing but the raw, unforgiving elements and an urgent need to survive. Taking a deep, steadying breath, Aurora unlatched the door. The moment the door swung open, a blast of icy wind hit her face like a surge of bitter reality. The cold was not merely a temperature, it was a palpable force, a razor-sharp reminder that nature brooked no mercy. The rain battered her skin, each droplet stinging like tiny needles as it mingled with the wind's fierce gusts. For a heartbeat, she hesitated, caught in a suspended moment between the safety of her broken refuge and the enigmatic darkness beyond. Her heart pounded in her ears as she stepped out onto the slick, rain-soaked pavement. The water pooled around, her boots, the mud clinging stubbornly as if trying to tether her to the spot. The wind whipped her hair into a frenzy, and every step felt like a battle against the relentless barrage of elements. Aurora's body shivered uncontrollably. The cold seeped through her clothes, numbing her skin while awakening every nerve with its piercing intensity. The storm's fury was everywhere. Thunder rumbled in the distance, a deep, resonant warning that vibrated through the ground. Lightning split the sky, illuminating fleeting glimpses of the wild, shadowy forest that lay ahead. The trees stood as dark, mysterious sentinels, their gnarled branches stretching toward her like skeletal arms, beckoning and threatening all at once. In that moment, the forest transformed into a living maze of secrets, its depth shrouded in a mist that blurred the line between reality and myth. Aurora's internal voice urged caution, yet an inexplicable pull urged her forward. "There's no turning back now," she whispered to herself, her tone both resolute and tinged with trepidation. Each step away from the car felt like an act of defiance, a bold claim of independence from the safe, yet stifling confines of her past. The rhythm of her footsteps merged with the pounding rain, creating a suspenseful cadence that echoed the uncertainty of what lay ahead. Every footfall was measured against the soft, slick earth, and with each movement, the forest seemed to lean in closer, its silence punctuated only by the harsh elements. The damp air carried the scent of wet leaves and decaying wood, a potent reminder of the life that thrived in the shadows. Aurora could almost feel the forest breathing around her, as if it were alive and aware of her intrusion. The interplay of light and darkness, of fleeting illumination from distant lightning against the pervasive gloom, lent an almost surreal quality to the scene, a cinematic tableau where every detail resonated with meaning. Her heart raced with a cocktail of fear and exhilaration. Was it just the storm? Or was something else watching her from within the murky depths? Every rustle in the undergrowth, every flicker of movement between the trees, amplified her growing sense of vulnerability. Yet, even as her pulse quickened, and doubt whispered in her ear, a part of her embraced the challenge. There was a strange beauty in this raw confrontation with nature, a promise of transformation if she could only brave the unknown. With each step, deeper into the shadowy forest, Aurora felt a gradual shedding of the past. The safety of her old life was fading with every beat of the storm, replaced by the electric anticipation of an uncertain future. In the heart of the tempest, as the dark forest swallowed her silhouette, she knew that this was the beginning of something profound, a journey that would test her limits and redefine who she was. And so, With a final determined glance back at the forsaken car, she moved forward into the depths of the storm, ready to face whatever destiny awaited her. In the pitch-black heart of the forest, every sound and sensation converged into a symphony of eerie overload. The skeletal branches of ancient trees reached out like bony fingers against the starless sky, their twisted silhouettes etched in fleeting flashes of lightning. The night was oppressive, an endless, velvety darkness that swallowed sound and light alike, leaving Aurora feeling both exposed and profoundly alone. Every rustle of wind through the leaves whispered secrets of the past, stirring memories of forgotten tales that seemed to echo in the hollows of the forest. The wind itself was a ghostly presence, soft yet insistent, its murmurs threading through the dense canopy and over the cold, damp earth. It carried with it the scent of decaying leaves and rich, wet soil, a pungent reminder of nature's relentless cycle of life and decay. With each inhalation, Aurora's senses were assaulted by the raw, unfiltered essence of the wilderness, as if the forest itself were breathing a secret language only the brave dared to understand. Aurora's skin prickled under the chill of the night, and every step forward was an exercise in vulnerability. The forest floor, slick with moisture and littered with detritus, muffled her footsteps, amplifying the sensation that she was trespassing in a realm that did not welcome intruders. There was a palpable tension in the silence, a heavy expectancy that pressed in from all sides. The absence of familiar sounds, the chirp of crickets, the rustle of small creatures, only heightened her awareness of each subtle shift in the air, as if the forest itself was holding its breath. She could feel it, a mysterious presence lurking in the periphery of her vision. At the edge of her awareness, a fleeting shadow would dart between the gnarled trunks, vanishing as quickly as it appeared. Was it merely the play of light and darkness, or was something else watching from the depths? A question, half-formed and laden with trepidation, echoed in her mind. What unseen force roamed these ancient woods? Each soft, almost imperceptible sound, a crack of a twig, a gentle rustling in the underbrush, became an omen, intensifying her sense of isolation and the eerie communion between her own heartbeat and the rhythm of the wild. The overwhelming sensory input was both mesmerizing and disconcerting. Aurora's eyes struggled to adjust, darting from one shadow to another, as she sought confirmation of the unknown presence that seemed to linger among the trees. In the occasional flicker of lightning, the forest was momentarily illuminated, revealing fleeting glimpses of faces carved in bark and secrets hidden in the intertwining roots. The interplay of light and dark created an ever-shifting tapestry that both cloaked and revealed, leaving her uncertain of what lay just beyond the veil of obscurity. Amid this sensory onslaught, a deep, resonant silence pervaded, a silence that was not empty, but full of whispered promises and warnings. Aurora's heart beat loudly in her ears, each thump a reminder of her own fragility in the face of nature's vast, indifferent power. The oppressive darkness pressed upon her like a tangible weight, and with every step she took deeper into the wilderness, she felt the lines between reality and myth begin to blur. In that moment, the forest was not just a backdrop, but a living, breathing enigma. It guarded its secrets fiercely, inviting only the courageous to discover the truth hidden within its depths. And as Aurora ventured further, the tantalizing promise of mystery mingled with the primal fear of the unknown, leaving her suspended in a space where every sound, every shift in the wind, could be the harbinger of an ancient, unseen force watching from the shadows. In the midst of the enveloping darkness, a sudden, almost imperceptible shift in the air announced a presence that defied the ordinary. As Aurora cautiously moved forward, her eyes caught a subtle movement, a ripple among the shadows, distinct and deliberate. There, emerging silently from the depths of the night, stood a wolf of such majestic bearing that it seemed to belong to a realm beyond mortal understanding. The creature was immense, its presence both commanding and ethereal. Its fur, sleek and dark as the void between stars, shimmered with an almost otherworldly luster when touched by the fleeting glimmers of lightning. Every strand of its coat appeared to be meticulously woven by the hands of nature itself, a tapestry of midnight hues that absorbed the surrounding gloom, rather than reflecting it. It moved with a fluid grace, each step measured and silent, as if the forest had granted it a passageway through time and space. What captivated Aurora most were its eyes, luminous golden orbs that shone like molten amber against the dark backdrop of its fur. They burned with a hypnotic intensity, holding secrets as old as the forest and as deep as the night itself. In those eyes, there was an undeniable magnetism, an invitation to peer into a soul that had witnessed untold epochs and mysteries. For a long moment, the wolf's gaze locked with hers, a silent communion that transcended the barrier between human and beast. In that exchange, Aurora felt both a surge of awe and a stirring of ancient, unspoken connection. A feeling that perhaps this wolf was not merely an animal, but a guardian or messenger from a time when magic wove itself into the fabric of the world. The atmosphere around the wolf pulsed with an enigmatic energy, as if the very air vibrated with the sound of ancient lore. Its posture was regal, the contours of its muscular frame evoking both power and an almost sorrowful wisdom. Despite its formidable appearance, there was an unmistakable calmness in its stance, a quiet assurance that belied the ferocity typically associated with such creatures. This was no ordinary wolf. It was a being of myth and mystery, a spectral figure born from the twilight of forgotten legends. Aurora's breath caught as she observed every subtle nuance of its demeanor. The way its ears flicked in response to distant sounds, the slight tilt of its head as if weighing the significance of each moment, all spoke of a creature that was attuned to forces beyond the grasp of human perception. Every fiber of its being radiated a silent command, a reminder that it was an emissary of something ancient and powerful, a force that watched over the secrets of the wilderness with a quiet vigilance. For a heartbeat, time seemed to pause. The roaring of the storm and the rustling of the leaves faded into a hushed background, leaving only the profound, shared silence between Aurora and this majestic guardian. In that suspended moment, the forest itself appeared to lean in closer, as if eager to witness the unspoken connection unfolding before its ancient eyes. The wolf's presence evoked a myriad of questions in her mind. What mysteries did it carry? Why had it chosen to reveal itself now, at this juncture of her life? And most pressingly, what message did it bear for her? Even as the storm raged around them, there was an undeniable intimacy in that encounter. A deep, unspoken promise that something extraordinary was unfolding. Aurora's heart thudded in her chest, not just with fear, but with an overwhelming curiosity and a newfound sense of destiny. This silent, magnificent wolf, with its dark, iridescent coat and piercing golden gaze, had stepped out of the realm of myth and into her reality, forever altering the path of her journey into the unknown. The majestic wolf turned slowly, its luminous golden eyes flickering with a silent invitation that pierced the veil of the storm. With a fluid grace that defied the chaos around it, the creature began to move, each step deliberate and almost otherworldly. It advanced steadily through the thicket, its dark, sleek form gliding effortlessly among the swaying trees. In that moment, the wolf seemed to embody a mystical presence, a guardian of secrets, beckoning Aurora to follow into the unknown. Aurora hesitated, caught in a tumultuous battle between logic and an inexplicable pull that tugged at her very soul. Her rational mind screamed caution, insisting that she remain safe within the confines of her stranded car. Yet, as she watched the wolf's silent, mesmerizing movement, something deep within her rebelled against the chains of reason. It was as though an ancient force, one that transcended the mundane and touched upon the realm of destiny, was drawing her closer. Why do I feel so compelled? She wondered, her heart fluttering like a caged bird in the midst of a storm. The internal conflict was palpable, a clash between the secure, predictable world she once knew and the seductive call of a mystery that promised transformation. Despite the raging tempest outside, there was a surreal sense of calm that seemed to emanate from the wolf. It moved as if the storm itself was part of its domain, a wild yet harmonious element of nature. The creature's invitation carried an aura of safety, an assurance that the darkness was not solely a harbinger of doom, but a threshold to hidden wonders. Aurora felt a tentative warmth blossom in her chest, a quiet conviction that perhaps this path, though shrouded in uncertainty, was the key to unlocking a deeper, uncharted part of herself. With each graceful stride the wolf took, the distance between them seemed to shrink, and the oppressive clamor of the storm receded into a distant murmur. The air grew thick with anticipation and a subtle, almost imperceptible energy that promised new beginnings. In the midst of the relentless rain and howling wind, a fragile peace settled over Aurora, a momentary reprieve that allowed her to weigh the gravity of the decision before her. Logic whispered that she should retreat, to seek shelter in the safety of the familiar. Yet the wolf's silent call resonated with something primordial inside her, stirring memories of long-forgotten dreams and a yearning for freedom. The forest, with its skeletal branches and ever-shifting shadows, became a surreal corridor where every droplet of rain sparkled with secret luminescence. As Aurora took a tentative step forward, her senses were inundated with the heady perfume of wet earth and the quiet, rhythmic pulse of nature's heartbeat. It was as if the very elements had conspired to create a path that led not only away from her past, but toward a destiny that promised renewal and transformation. In that charged moment, Aurora's inner turmoil reached its peak. She stood on the precipice of a decision that would forever alter her course, her thoughts swirling like the turbulent storm around her. The safety of the car, now a cold, lifeless shell, was a stark contrast to the magnetic allure of the wolf's beckoning. With every fiber of her being urging her to follow, she found herself drawn inexorably toward the mysterious figure. The allure was undeniable, a luminous thread woven through the fabric of her heart, pulling her gently yet persistently into the depths of the unknown. The wolf paused briefly, as if ensuring that she was ready to embrace the call. Then, with a subtle tilt of its head and a soft, almost imperceptible nod, it resumed its elegant march into the darkened forest. Aurora's breath hitched as she finally surrendered to that inexplicable pull. In that moment, surrounded by the fury of the storm yet cradled by a surreal sense of calm, she took her first determined step into the shadows, ready to discover what secrets the night held. Through the relentless storm and the twisting labyrinth of the forest, Aurora's weary eyes caught a glimmer of light that broke through the monochrome gloom, a faint golden glow that beckoned from within the darkness. Emerging like a mirage, an old weathered cabin revealed itself amid a clearing, its outline etched in the soft light of an unseen source. The glow seemed almost ethereal, a promise of refuge amid the chaos of the tempest. Drawn by a mixture of relief and apprehension, Aurora approached slowly. Every step felt like a leap into the unknown, her heart pulsing with both hope and cautious trepidation. The cabin's exterior, marred by time and the fury of countless storms, was a patchwork of weathered wood and peeling paint. Its creaking porch, worn smooth by the passage of years and countless visitors now long gone, sagged under the weight of history. The wooden planks groaned with each whisper of the wind, as if echoing the stories and secrets of a bygone era. A narrow door, slightly ajar, invited her closer. The dim golden light spilled out in gentle, unsteady waves, contrasting starkly with the cold darkness surrounding it. Aurora could almost feel the warmth seeping through the gap, a silent promise of comfort and shelter from the raging storm outside. As she reached out, her fingertips trembling, she hesitated only for a moment before pushing the door open. The sound of its creak mingled with the howling wind, a subtle reminder that nothing in this place was as it seemed. Inside, the cabin was a study in rustic charm and faded grandeur. Dust motes danced in the meager light that filtered through fractured windows, casting erratic patterns on the time-worn wooden floor. An old stone fireplace dominated one wall, its hearth still glowing faintly with embers, as if kept alive by a secret vigil. A threadbare rug lay across the floor, and a solitary wooden chair, positioned near the hearth, whispered of long nights spent in quiet contemplation. The air was thick with the scent of aged wood and a trace of something spiced, a fragrance that hinted at days when this place was a lively home, vibrant with unspoken stories. Yet, beneath this inviting veneer, there lingered an undercurrent of mystery. Every creak and groan of the cabin's structure, every subtle flicker of the embers, seemed charged with secrets waiting to be uncovered. There was an uncanny stillness, a pause that felt like the moment before a revelation, a quiet that was not entirely comforting, but loaded with anticipation. Aurora's eyes roamed the room, noting peculiar details. A faded portrait hanging crookedly on the wall, a rusted key resting on a small dust-covered table, and a narrow staircase leading upward into darkness. Each element whispered hints of forgotten lives and hidden truths. As she stepped further inside, the inviting warmth from the fire wrapped around her like a fragile embrace, momentarily soothing the chill of the storm. Yet her mind could not shake the sense that this cabin was more than just a shelter from the storm. It was a repository of memories and mysteries, a silent keeper of secrets that might one day alter her destiny. The interplay of light and shadow in the room stirred her imagination. Was there someone who had once called this place home? What tales of joy and sorrow had these walls absorbed over the years? A subtle unease crept into her heart, mingling with the relief of finding refuge. The cabin, with its rustic, time-worn charm, seemed to promise safety while silently daring her to uncover its hidden depths. In that delicate balance between comfort and the unknown, Aurora felt the pull of fate guiding her onward. She knew that stepping into this sanctuary was not merely a means of escaping the storm. It was a step into a larger narrative, one where every creaking floorboard and whispered echo carried the weight of a secret waiting to be revealed. Inside the cabin, a hushed silence reigned, a delicate balance between eerie stillness and a strangely familiar warmth that seemed to cradle Aurora in its gentle embrace. The dwindling fire in the stone hearth cast a soft, wavering light across the room, its glow dancing upon the worn wooden walls and over the scattered remnants of a life long past. Shadows flickered in quiet rhythm, merging and parting with every subtle shift of the flames, as if the very essence of the cabin were engaged in a silent dialogue with time. Aurora stepped further into the space, her senses alert to every nuance. The interplay between light and shadow was mesmerizing, evoking both comfort and mystery. In the dim glow, each object told a story. A faded quilt draped over a creaking chair, a delicate lace curtain fluttering in a draft from a cracked window. Even the uneven pattern of dust on a weathered table spoke of moments once cherished and now lost. The air carried a faint scent of lavender, mixed with the smoky residue of burnt wood, an aroma that stirred memories of nights filled with whispered conversations and shared secrets. As she moved slowly across the creaking floorboards, Aurora couldn't shake the impression that the cabin had been meticulously prepared for its guest, though its occupant was long gone. The arrangement of objects seemed deliberate. A small bowl of polished stones placed near the window, a neatly arranged set of worn books on a shelf, and even a solitary cup on the table, half filled and untouched, as if someone had paused mid-conversation. Each detail, though subtle, hinted at a previous inhabitant who had imbued this space with purpose and care, leaving behind echoes of a life filled with both joy and sorrow. In the quiet, Aurora's thoughts began to stir with questions. Who had once called this cabin home? What dreams had they nurtured within these walls, and what secrets had they guarded? The flickering shadows appeared to dance in response, as if the cabin itself yearned to share its hidden stories. At times, the low murmur of the wind outside seemed to blend with the soft, rhythmic crackle of the dying fire, creating a symphony of hushed whispers that carried fragments of voices long silenced. It was as though the cabin, in its stillness, was inviting her to listen closely, to hear the remnants of past conversations that lingered like ghosts in the corners. A particular photograph caught her eye. A sepia-toned image of a family gathered. In front of the cabin, smiling beneath a sky that now seemed a distant memory, the photograph, slightly askew on the wall, exuded an air of gentle melancholy. It spoke of moments frozen in time, of days when laughter filled the room, and every detail had been touched by the hand of someone who cared deeply for this place. Yet, in the present, the image only deepened the mystery. What had happened to these people? And why had they left behind a sanctuary imbued with such deliberate warmth? Aurora's heart beat in tandem with the slow, measured pulses of the remaining embers. Every creak of the wooden floor, every subtle shift in the dancing shadows, contributed to a growing sense that she was not alone. Not merely a solitary wanderer seeking refuge from the storm, but a participant in a narrative woven long before her arrival. The purpose behind the cabin's careful arrangement, the lingering traces of a life deliberately lived, beckoned her to uncover the enigma hidden within these walls. In that moment, as the last remnants of firelight wavered and the room was bathed in a soft, uncertain glow, Aurora felt an undeniable pull, a silent invitation to become part of the cabin's story. The echoes of its past whispered through, the flickering shadows, urging her to listen, to question, and to dare to step beyond the veil of ordinary life. And so, in the quiet embrace of this enigmatic refuge, the journey of discovery continued. Each hushed whisper, a clue leading her deeper into the secrets that lay waiting to be revealed. In the half-light of the storm-soaked cabin, as the flickering fire cast dancing shadows upon the walls, the majestic wolf that had silently observed Aurora began to change. The moment was breathtaking, a fusion of raw power and delicate artistry, as if the very fabric of nature itself had decided to unravel and reweave. Slowly, imperceptibly at first, the beast's form started to shift, each motion a harmonious note in an eerie, otherworldly symphony. Aurora watched, transfixed, as the wolf's sinewy body convulsed with a series of gentle shudders. Its sleek, dark fur shimmered in the weak light, then began to melt away like ink dissolving in water. With every shudder, every subtle twitch, the creature's features softened, revealing hints of something undeniably human beneath the animal guise. The transformation was both unsettling and mesmerizing, a metamorphosis that transcended the bounds of nature and ventured into the realm of myth. The process was as musical as it was mysterious. A low, resonant hum seemed to vibrate through the very air, echoing off the ancient wooden walls and mingling with the crackle of the fire. It was as if the forest itself had lent its voice to this spectacle, composing an aria of change where each note corresponded to the stretch of a muscle, the lengthening of a limb, the reformation of a face. The wolf's powerful shoulders rippled under the strain of transformation, and its limbs, once designed for silent, predatory movement, began to reconfigure, lengthening, reshaping, becoming more defined, more human. As the metamorphosis progressed, the creature's eyes, the same luminous orbs that had held an animalistic, hypnotic allure, retained their golden glow, but now they shone with a deeper, almost sorrowful intelligence. The eyes, still mesmerizing in their brilliance, seemed to convey the weight of centuries of untold stories and unspoken destinies. With every pulse of that low, melodic hum, the transformation became more pronounced. A noble, enigmatic man emerged from the guise of the wolf, his every movement imbued with a graceful strength that defied logic. Ronan, as he would soon be known, stood before Aurora in the place where the beast had been. His skin, glistening with the remnants of the storm, bore the marks of both his recent wildness and his emerging humanity. Dark, unruly hair framed his face, and a jaw set with quiet determination gave him an air of command. The echoes of the transformation still reverberated in the silence. The soft snap of shifting bones, the gentle tearing of fur, the almost imperceptible sighs of a being reborn. Each sound was a delicate reminder of what had transpired, the merging of animal instinct with human depth, the union of raw power and refined grace. In that charged moment, the room seemed to hold its breath. The very atmosphere pulsed with the reverberations of change, as if the cabin itself acknowledged that it was witnessing a phenomenon beyond mortal comprehension. The fire's light, now dancing more fervently on Ronan's form, highlighted every angle of his sculpted physique that spoke of centuries of strength and endurance, of battles fought both within and without. His transformation was not merely a shedding of the wolf's skin. It was a rebirth into a destiny that was as enigmatic as it was inevitable. Aurora, rooted in awe and trepidation, could only watch as the final vestiges of the wolf vanished, leaving in their place a man whose presence seemed to command both the ferocity of nature and the tender, haunting beauty of a long-forgotten legend. In that silent, breathtaking instant, she knew that her journey had taken a turn toward the extraordinary, her fate now intertwined with that of Ronan, the enigmatic man born of the storm. Aurora's mind reeled in the wake of the impossible, transformation before her eyes. Her heart pounded in a chaotic rhythm as disbelief, fear, and a deep, stirring curiosity battled within her. The image of the magnificent wolf morphing into Ronan, a man whose presence was both commanding and enigmatic, remained imprinted in her vision. It was as if reality had splintered into two realms, one of the tangible known world she'd always lived in, and another where myth and destiny intertwined. For a long, suspended moment, she stood frozen, her breath shallow, her thoughts a tangle of conflicting emotions. "How can this be real?" she whispered internally, her voice a mix of awe and terror. The sudden appearance of Ronan shattered the delicate balance of her carefully constructed world. Logic screamed that such a spectacle belonged only in dreams or fantastical tales. Yet there he was, every detail as vivid and undeniable as the storm raging outside. Fear prickled along her skin. Was it the fear of the unknown? Or the fear that she was now irrevocably bound to a destiny far beyond her control? The air around her seemed to thicken with each passing second, laden with the weight of questions that demanded answers. What did this transformation mean? Was Ronan merely a messenger from a forgotten realm, or a harbinger of a fate that was now entwined with her own? The rush of emotions was overwhelming, a tidal wave of wonder, trepidation, and a tantalizing sense of possibility. Every heartbeat echoed like a drum in her chest, urging her to seek understanding even as it warned of the peril in embracing the extraordinary. In the quiet aftermath of the metamorphosis, as Ronan's steady gaze met hers, Aurora's thoughts spiraled into a maelstrom of introspection. Memories of a life confined by routine and loneliness surfaced, days spent in the stifling grip of a loveless relationship and a job that drained her spirit. Now, faced with a reality that defied everything she once knew, she found herself grappling with the bittersweet possibility of liberation. Could this be the moment that shattered her chains? Or was it a plunge into a deeper, even more perilous unknown? The questions churned relentlessly in her mind. What if the universe has been waiting for her to break free, to embrace a destiny that has been hidden in the shadows? Is this surreal encounter the catalyst for the transformation she's longed for, or merely an illusion spun by a tempest of nature? Each query resonated like a whispered secret in the dark, inviting the audience to wonder alongside her. Do you ever feel that something extraordinary is just waiting to happen, hidden behind the veil of the everyday? She silently asked, her inner voice raw with emotion. Aurora's inner turmoil was palpable, a silent battle between the comfort of her old, predictable life and the alluring call of the unknown. As the storm outside raged with relentless energy, the storm within her swirled with thoughts of destiny, of ancient forces at work, and of a self she had never dared to imagine. The shimmering image of Ronan, born from the wild, untamed night, challenged every preconception she held. His presence stirred a longing to understand not just him, but the vast tapestry of fate that now enveloped her life. In that charged, fragile moment, she felt both insignificant and infinitely significant. A tiny, trembling soul on the brink of a transformation that promised to rewrite her existence. The reality before her was a puzzle she was desperate to piece together, each shard of wonder and terror urging her to look deeper, to question more fiercely. And as her eyes locked with Ronan's unwavering golden gaze, Aurora couldn't help but feel that her journey had taken an irrevocable turn into a realm where the impossible was only the beginning. Ronan stepped closer, his presence commanding yet laced with an unspoken tenderness. In the soft glow of the waning firelight, his voice, low and measured, cut through the tension that shrouded the cabin. "Aurora," he began, each syllable imbued with a weight that seemed to echo from a time long past. "You are my mate." His words fell like ancient incantations, reverberating in the silence, charged with destiny and a promise that transcended the boundaries of mortal life. For a heartbeat, the world stilled. Aurora felt as if the very air around them had thickened, wrapping her in an almost sacred embrace. The phrase, "You are my mate," simple yet profound, brought forth a surge of conflicting emotions. Logic whispered that such declarations belonged to myth and legend, while a deep, unexplainable pull within her stirred, as if echoing the truth of his words. The sound of his voice was like smooth gravel, aged and enduring, carrying the gravity of centuries and the soft cadence of fate itself. "No, it sounds impossible," Ronan continued, his eyes never leaving hers, their golden depths reflecting a centuries-old certainty. "But destiny has woven our paths together long before this night, long before the storm found us here." His tone was both reassuring and intense, a blend of gentle persuasion and the inevitability of an ancient promise. Every word he spoke seemed to carry the echoes of forgotten legends, each syllable an invocation of a fate that was both profound and inexorable. Aurora's heart thundered in her chest as she struggled to reconcile the rational part of her mind with the profound pull of destiny that his declaration ignited. How could a mere phrase encapsulate a bond that defied explanation? The words "my mate" resonated deeply within her, stirring memories of a life lived in the shadows of conformity and a yearning for something more. A love that transcended the ordinary, a connection that was predestined. Yet, amidst the awakening of hope, a tremor of fear lingered. Was she truly ready to accept this path, to allow her fate to be rewritten by forces beyond her understanding? Ronan's gaze softened as he sensed her inner tumult. "I do not ask you to embrace this lightly," he said softly, his voice a gentle counterpoint to the earlier intensity. "I offer you the truth of our connection, a truth as old as the night and as enduring as the stars. In you, I see a light that has long been waiting to ignite, a flame that completes the ancient tapestry of our kind." His words were measured and calm, yet beneath them lay an undeniable urgency, as if he knew that every moment was precious, every heartbeat a step closer, to a destiny that could not be denied. The air between them shimmered with the power of unspoken promises and the raw energy of revelation. Aurora felt as if she were suspended in time, caught between the reassuring cadence of Ronan's declaration and the overwhelming weight of a destiny that beckoned her forward. "You are my mate," he repeated, his voice both a benediction and a command that resonated deep within her soul. It was a call to embrace the transformation that awaited, a call that promised both liberation and a daunting surrender to fate. In that charged, silent moment, the cavernous space of the cabin seemed to contract, drawing their shared breath into a single resonant pulse. The world outside, with its storm and shadows, faded into insignificance compared to the timeless bond being forged here. Aurora's inner struggle waged quietly. Fear mingled with hope, resistance interlaced with desire, and in the depths of her eyes, she glimpsed the faint shimmer of acceptance. The declaration hung in the air like an ancient promise, powerful and irrevocable, setting her on a path that would forever change the tapestry of her life. Dawn crept softly over the horizon, its pale light gently dissolving the shadows of the stormy night. Aurora awoke to the quiet aftermath, a hushed, reflective calm that contrasted sharply with the chaos that had raged hours before. In the cool, still silence of the new day, she found herself alone with the lingering echoes of transformation and destiny, a heart heavy with the weight of prophetic whispers. Lying on the rough wooden floor of the cabin, Aurora's eyes slowly adjusted to the gentle glow of morning. The storm's fury had ebbed, leaving behind only the damp scent of rain and the faint aroma of smoldering embers. As she sat up, her thoughts drifted back to the extraordinary events of the previous night. The majestic wolf's metamorphosis, Ronan's solemn declaration, and the profound words that had bound their fates together. The memory of his voice, steady and imbued with ancient certainty, resonated in her mind like a sacred incantation, stirring a mix of hope, wonder, and deep apprehension. In that quiet moment, as the first beams of light filtered through the dusty window, Aurora contemplated the prophecy that now lay intertwined with her destiny. It was more than a mere declaration of love. It was an invocation of forces that stretched far beyond the tangible world, a promise that their union was predestined by powers as old as time itself. She recalled Ronan's words, "You are my mate," and felt both the weight and the tenderness of that truth settling into her soul. Was it fate, or something even more mysterious, that had drawn them together? The question lingered like a soft murmur in her heart, beckoning her to explore the deeper mysteries that had awakened within her. As Aurora wrapped herself in a threadbare blanket left behind by the cabin's former occupant, she allowed her mind to wander through the labyrinth of memories and possibilities. Every detail of the night replayed in her thoughts. The storm's relentless roar, the spectral dance of shadows in the forest, and the transformative moment when the wolf's form had dissolved into the enigmatic man before her eyes. These experiences, once shattering and surreal, now wove together into a tapestry of profound meaning. The cabin, with its quiet secrets and aged charm, had served as both refuge and crucible, a place where the boundaries between the mundane and the mystical had blurred. Outside, the forest was slowly coming to life. Dew sparkled on the leaves, and the air was filled with a fresh, earthy scent, a subtle reminder that nature itself was in a state of rebirth. Yet, even as the world awoke, Aurora sensed that something was not yet complete. The prophecy that Ronan had spoken of was not merely an echo of the past. It was a call to an uncertain future, a bridge between the startling transformation of the night and the vast, uncharted realms of destiny. A sense of impending choice stirred within her, a dilemma that demanded she reconcile her old self with the new, extraordinary path unfolding before her. In that fragile stillness of the early morning, Aurora's inner voice questioned what it meant to be bound by prophecy. Could she embrace a fate that had been written in the stars, or would the fear of the unknown hold her back? Her heart ached with both longing and trepidation, for she knew that accepting this destiny would forever alter the course of her life. The quiet of the new day was filled with unspoken possibilities, a promise that every step forward would unravel more secrets, each moment a delicate dance between hope and uncertainty. As she rose to face the day, Aurora felt the first stirrings of resolve. The night's revelations, however shocking, had set her on a path that led deeper into the mysteries of fate. With the gentle light of dawn as her guide, she stepped forward, ready to embrace the profound challenges and hidden wonders that awaited her on the journey ahead. As dawn broke over the horizon, a serene yet haunting light began to filter gently through the broken windows of the cabin. Aurora sat on the edge of a creaking wooden bench near the fire, her eyes tracing the delicate dance of golden beams that cut through the lingering gloom. The early morning light was soft and muted, casting long, almost spectral shadows that played across the worn floorboards. It was as if the cabin itself was awakening from a long slumber, a quiet, reflective moment after the storm's fury had subsided. Inside, the warmth from the dying embers of the fire still radiated a comforting glow, embracing the room with a tender, fading heat. This warmth contrasted starkly with the cool, residual chill that crept in through the gaps in the weathered walls, a subtle reminder of the tempest that had so recently raged outside. Aurora could feel the delicate interplay of these sensations, the cozy, intimate heat that spoke of solace and survival, and the cool, crisp air that carried whispers of change and uncertainty. Together, they created a fragile equilibrium, a reminder that even in moments of quiet beauty, the past's tumult and the promise of the future lingered in every corner. Drawing a deep, steadying breath, Aurora's gaze drifted to the landscape beyond the cabin. Outside, the forest was shrouded in a gentle mist, the remnants of the storm dissolving slowly into the awakening day. Dew had begun to collect on the foliage, each droplet shimmering like tiny jewels in the soft light. The world outside seemed both transformed and timeless, a landscape where nature had washed away the chaos of the night, leaving behind a scene that was as beautiful as it was mysterious. The rustle of leaves and the distant call of a morning bird were the only sounds, punctuating the profound silence with hints of life continuing in harmony with the earth. Lost in these contrasts, Aurora felt a profound introspection take hold. The quiet of the morning allowed her mind to wander freely, reflecting on the events that had unfolded in the dark hours before. Her thoughts were a tapestry of conflicting emotions, remnants of the storm's fear and exhilaration mingled with a dawning realization of a destiny that now lay ahead. Here, in the sanctuary of the cabin, every detail told a story. The faded photographs hanging on the wall, the time-worn furniture that had witnessed years of whispered secrets, and even the uneven planks beneath her feet, all spoke of a past that was both sorrowful and filled with quiet hope. Aurora's heart ached with the bittersweet knowledge that nothing would ever be the same again. The transformation she had witnessed, the prophetic bond declared by Ronan, had set her on a course where every sunrise brought not just the promise of a new day, but also the weight of an uncharted future. In this hushed moment of reflection, she considered how the storm had washed away the remnants of her old life, its doubts, its confinement, leaving her exposed yet filled with the potential for rebirth. As the morning light grew stronger, it illuminated not only the physical contours of the cabin, but also the inner landscape of her soul. Aurora realized that the delicate balance between warmth and cold was much like her own journey, between holding on to cherished memories and embracing the invigorating uncertainty of change. With a quiet resolve, she acknowledged that the day ahead was both a continuation of the past and a bold step into the future. In that tranquil, introspective silence, the cabin at dawn stood as a testament to resilience and renewal, a haven where every flicker of light, every whisper of wind, invited her to forge ahead into a destiny both mysterious and profoundly her own. The morning had barely unfurled its light when Aurora and Ronan found themselves seated across from one another. At a battered wooden table in the corner of the cabin, a humble breakfast lay before them, a modest arrangement of rough bread, dried meat, and a lukewarm cup of water. Yet, in the quiet intimacy of that moment, every simple gesture carried the weight of destiny. Ronan's gaze was steady, his golden eyes reflecting both the fire's lingering glow and a far-off resolve. "Aurora," he began softly, his tone deliberate. "Last night wasn't a mere happenstance. It was a call from fate itself. I know it seems impossible, but everything we experienced, it's a part of an ancient promise." Aurora's fingers toyed absent-mindedly with a piece of bread as she searched Ronan's expression. Her heart was still a tumult of conflicting emotions, disbelief, fear, and a deep, stirring curiosity that refused to be silenced. "A promise?" she echoed, her voice wavering slightly. "You mean to say that we were meant to be together? That this is our destiny?" He nodded slowly, his eyes never leaving hers. "I have seen the signs, Aurora. The prophecy speaks of a bond, a mate connection that transcends time and circumstance. It's written in the stars and whispered by the winds. You are my mate, and this union, our union, will bring change, both for us and for all who stand in the way of fate." A heavy silence fell between them, punctuated only by the soft crackle of the dying embers in the hearth. Aurora's mind churned with doubts. But what if I'm not ready? What if accepting this fate means abandoning the person I once was? Her voice was a blend of defiance and uncertainty, as though she were challenging the very notion of destiny, while secretly longing for its embrace. Ronan's expression softened, and he leaned forward slightly, his voice tender, yet resolute. "You do not have to leave your past behind completely. It has shaped you, yes, but it does not define you. Our destiny is not a chain. It is a path that leads us to a future beyond what we can imagine. I understand your hesitation. I, too, have felt the pull of uncertainty. But know this. Sometimes the greatest transformations begin when we dare to let go of what we know." His words, spoken with the calm certainty of someone who had already begun to reconcile his inner conflicts, stirred something deep within Aurora. She looked away for a moment, contemplating the delicate balance between acceptance and rebellion that waged within her soul. "And if I choose to walk this path with you?" she asked softly, the question laden with hope and apprehension. "What, then, Ronan? What does that mean for who I am?" Ronan reached out, placing a calloused hand gently over hers. "It means that we forge our own truth, together," he replied, his voice low and imbued with an almost sacred calm. "It means embracing both the promise and the burden of our destiny. Yes, there will be challenges, and yes, there may be moments when you feel lost or conflicted. But in those moments, remember that fate is not a tyrant. It is a guide, inviting us to become more than we ever thought possible." The quiet intensity of their conversation filled the small room, transforming the humble breakfast into a sanctuary of shared vulnerability and unspoken resolve. Aurora's eyes met his once more, and in that gaze, she sensed not only the weight of prophecy, but also a gentle invitation to step into the unknown. "I want to believe," she whispered, her voice trembling with both hope and fear. "But how do I let go of the life I knew? How do I trust that this destiny is meant for me?" Ronan's smile was subtle, filled with an ancient wisdom that transcended his youthful features. "Trust is built one step at a time," he murmured. "Together, we will navigate this journey. You are not alone, Aurora. I am here, and as strange and overwhelming as this may seem, our bond is the compass that will guide us through the shadows." In that fragile, charged moment, the words hung in the air like an unbreakable vow. The dialogue of destiny, rich with both longing and defiance, invited them to lean in closer to the mysteries of their shared future, a future where every heartbeat and every whispered secret would forever intertwine their fates. Aurora sat in a quiet corner of the cabin, her mind a whirlwind of thoughts as she tried to make sense of the impossible bond that now tethered her to Ronan. In the fragile light of dawn, every memory of her old life clashed with the undeniable pull of something ancient and inexplicable. Her rational mind, ever the guardian of logic, whispered that fate was nothing more than an illusion, a trick played by her desperate heart in the wake of a long, suffocating past. Yet, as she replayed the events of the night in her thoughts, she could not ignore the profound, almost mystical resonance that seemed to confirm Ronan's declaration. How could a single, surreal moment shatter everything she had known? Aurora questioned herself repeatedly. Every logical part of her screamed that their meeting was a chance occurrence, an anomaly in an otherwise ordinary life. But deep within, a quiet, persistent force urged her to consider that destiny might be real. A force older than time, woven into the very fabric of the universe. Was it truly possible that their souls were intertwined by a prophecy written in the stars? Or was she, in her vulnerable state, grasping at remnants of hope amidst the chaos of transformation? As she pondered these thoughts, the weight of fate settled heavily on her chest. The internal conflict was palpable. On one hand, she clung to the rationality that had defined her existence, routines, responsibilities, and the safe predictability of a life meticulously planned. On the other, she felt an inexplicable pull toward Ronan, a magnetic, irresistible attraction that defied logic and beckoned her to step into a realm of ancient mystery. This duality tore at her, leaving her suspended between the comfort of what was known and the terrifying promise of what might be. Every memory of her previous life, with its sterile office corridors and loveless routines, now seemed both oppressive and trivial. Yet the prospect of embracing a destiny that promised profound change filled her with both dread and excitement. Aurora's heart fluttered with the knowledge that the choice before her was nothing short of life-altering. A decision that could lead to liberation or irrevocable transformation. Was she prepared to abandon the security of her old self for a future defined by uncertainty and myth? In the quiet moments before the day fully awakened, she could almost hear the faint murmur of the prophecy echoing through the cabin, a soft, almost imperceptible reminder that destiny was not a matter of chance but of choice. The thought that every step she took from this moment onward might forever alter the course of her life weighed on her like an unseen burden. What if embracing this mysterious bond meant losing the person she once was? What if her rational mind, which had long served as her anchor, could no longer hold her steady amid the surging tides of fate? And yet, beneath the layers of doubt, there was a spark, a subtle, persistent allure that promised something transcendent, something that could redeem her soul from years of confinement. This inner tug whispered of a truth far older than her fears, a truth that called her to a destiny that was as perilous as it was beautiful. The stakes were high, and the choice before her was monumental. To step into the unknown with Ronan was to cast aside everything familiar, to risk it all on a future woven from the threads of ancient promise and unfathomable change. In that silent moment of introspection, Aurora felt the weight of fate pressing in on her, urging her to decide whether to remain safely tethered to the past or to dare to embrace a destiny that promised to redefine her very existence. Leaving the relative safety of the cabin, Aurora felt an unyielding tug deep within her, a call to step beyond the remnants of her old life and embrace the mystery that lay ahead. With a lingering glance back at the weathered walls and fading warmth of the hearth, she rose, her heart a turbulent mix of anticipation and trepidation. Ronan's presence, a silent guide, beckoned her toward a hidden path that wound away from the confines of the shelter into a world that promised both wonder and uncertainty. The door creaked softly as she stepped outside, and immediately, the air enveloped her in its cool, damp embrace. The storm had passed, leaving behind a quiet, almost sacred calm, yet the echoes of its fury still resonated in the rustle of the leaves and the soft murmur of distant water. Before her, the forest transformed into a labyrinth of shadows and light, a corridor where each step forward was a leap from isolation into a realm of untold possibilities. Ronan's figure stood at the threshold, his gaze steady and encouraging. He had not spoken since their last exchange, but his silent invitation was louder than any words. With every tentative step along the narrow, winding trail, the familiar safety of the cabin receded into a distant memory. The ground beneath her feet, soft with dew and scattered with fallen leaves, seemed to pulse with the heartbeat of a new world, one where the known was left behind, and every twist of the path promised a secret waiting to be revealed. The forest itself appeared to whisper of change. Gnarled trees loomed overhead like ancient sentinels, their branches interlacing to form a natural canopy that filtered the emerging light into delicate, shifting patterns on the forest floor. Each flicker of shadow and each glimmer of sun through the leaves drew Aurora's attention, stirring a sense of both wonder and cautious doubt. The rustle of the underbrush and the soft crunch of twigs underfoot marked her progress, echoing the internal cadence of her racing thoughts. Is this truly my path now? She wondered, the question mingling with the gentle exhalation of the cool morning air. As she advanced further along the hidden path, the forest's embrace grew tighter, more intimate, as though the very earth itself were inviting her to rediscover what it meant to be alive. The transition was palpable, leaving behind the insulated world of the cabin, with its quiet memories and fading firelight. Aurora stepped into a realm that was raw, unpredictable, and infused with an ancient magic. Every breath she took was laced with the scent of moss, wet earth, and the subtle tang of pine, a sensory tapestry that both comforted and unnerved her. The anticipation was a tangible force, coiled within her chest, urging her forward even as trepidation tugged at her resolve. The idea of leaving everything familiar behind was daunting, yet the promise of transformation, a chance to weave herself into a narrative that transcended the mundane, filled her with a fierce determination. Each step was a silent pledge to embrace the unknown, to let go of past limitations, and to allow the enigmatic forces of fate to guide her toward a destiny that had long been written in the hidden corridors of time. In that moment, as the soft light of a new day caressed the forest, and the path ahead unfolded like a secret scroll, Aurora felt the stirring of a profound inner shift. The journey from the sanctuary of the cabin into the wilderness was not merely a physical passage, but an invitation to shed her former self and to step boldly into the uncharted realms of destiny, with Ronan waiting silently at the edge of the path. She took a final resolute breath and moved forward, each step echoing with the promise of renewal and the bittersweet thrill of the unknown. Emerging from the dense embrace of the forest, the hidden village revealed itself like a secret, whispered by nature. Nestled amid towering ancient trees, the enclave was a breathtaking blend of aged architecture and organic splendor. As Aurora followed Ronan along the winding path, the landscape slowly unfolded into a picturesque tableau. Ivy-clad stone cottages stood side by side, their weathered facades softened by layers of moss and thyme, while narrow cobblestone streets wound delicately through clusters of charming homes. The soft, ambient glow of candlelight began to shimmer in the twilight, spilling from open windows, and lanterns hung along the pathways. Each cottage, built with an almost reverential attention to detail, carried the weight of centuries of tradition. The stones, worn smooth by the passage of countless hands, resonated with an unspoken history. Their cool textures, intermingled with creeping ivy, told stories of generations who had lived, loved, and endured within these hallowed walls. As Aurora stepped onto a cobbled path, the gentle clack of her footsteps merged with the soft murmur of distant voices and the rustling of leaves overhead. The village exuded a palpable sense of purpose and unity, a delicate harmony between human craftsmanship and the timeless beauty of nature. Every detail was a testament to a way of life that cherished simplicity, resilience, and the quiet celebration of community. Lanterns swayed gently in the breeze, their flickering flames casting playful shadows on the time-worn stones. The air was rich with the mingled scents of burning wood, fresh herbs, and the damp, earthy aroma of the forest floor. It was as if the village itself breathed a soft, welcoming warmth into the cool night, inviting wanderers to linger and listen. Each narrow alleyway and secret courtyard hinted at hidden traditions, of gatherings filled with music, laughter, and tales passed down through generations. Aurora's eyes roamed over the enchanting scene, and with each step, her heart began to beat in time with the rhythmic pulse of the enclave. Questions bubbled in her mind. Who were the people that had built and nurtured this secret haven? What rituals and customs had shaped their lives, blending the mystical with the everyday? The villagers, though unseen in this first glimpse, seemed to be woven into the very fabric of the place, a silent, enduring presence that imbued every stone, and every flickering light with purpose. The aesthetic was cinematic, a living painting where every brushstroke was imbued with emotion and history. The narrow, winding paths beckoned like veins of a mystical network, leading to small communal spaces where one could almost imagine the low hum of conversation and the soft strains of music. The interplay of light and shadow, with candlelit windows casting gentle halos against the dark silhouette of the forest, evoked a sense of timeless wonder. This was not merely a village. It was a portal to an era when life was governed by nature's rhythms and the enduring wisdom of ancient traditions. As Aurora paused to take in the vista, the village seemed to hold its breath in a moment of serene anticipation. Every ivy-draped cottage, every cobblestone lane, whispered secrets of resilience and hope, a promise that despite the passage of time, the core of human connection remained steadfast. The enclave, bathed in the soft glow of candlelight and cradled by the ancient forest, invited her to delve deeper into its mysteries, to discover the stories and customs that defined its people. In that cinematic instant, as the hidden village emerged from the twilight, Aurora sensed that she was on the threshold of something extraordinary, a journey into a realm where history, mystery, and the magic of human tradition intertwined to create a future yet to be written. Aurora stepped hesitantly into the village square, her senses assaulted by the murmurs of quiet conversation and the measured glances of its inhabitants. The enclave, though small, exuded an aura of ancient strength and unity, a community bound together by unspoken rules and deep-rooted tradition. As she moved forward, she felt a mix of anticipation and trepidation. Every pair of watchful eyes seemed to appraise her, as if weighing her worth against the sacred customs of this hidden pack. A group of villagers gathered near a low stone wall, their expressions guarded yet curious. An elder with steely gray hair and piercing blue eyes stepped forward, his presence commanding silence. His gaze swept over Aurora with a quiet intensity that sent shivers down her spine. "Who are you? And what brings you to our enclave?" he asked, his tone measured and firm. His words were not hostile, yet they carried the weight of centuries of tradition, a challenge to prove oneself worthy of this ancient sanctuary. Aurora swallowed hard, her heart pounding as she attempted to steady her voice. "My name is Aurora," she replied softly. I have come seeking a new beginning, guided by fate." Her admission hung in the air, laden with vulnerability and a hint of defiance. As she spoke, she could feel the subtle shift in the crowd, a blend of skepticism, curiosity, and a guarded welcome that spoke of both caution and hope. Around her, smaller groups of villagers exchanged whispered comments, their eyes alight with a mix of wonder and doubt. Some appeared intrigued by her delicate aura and the determination that shone through her hesitant smile, while others remained silent, their opinions hidden behind furrowed brows and measured stares. Despite the initial reserve, there was an undeniable sense of kinship in their collective gaze, as if they too had once been outsiders, longing for a place to call home. The imposing figure of the elder lingered near the front of the group. He nodded slowly, as though weighing her words against an ancient ledger of destiny. "Fate has a way of leading those who are meant to find us," he murmured cryptically, his eyes softening for just a moment. "But here, among us, loyalty and strength are earned. We do not welcome wanderers lightly." His statement resonated with a quiet authority that filled the square, hinting at deeper conflicts that simmered beneath the surface. A history of trials, lost souls, and the enduring battle between tradition and change. As Aurora stood there, she sensed the collective heartbeat of the pack, a rhythm of hope, conflict, and guarded acceptance. In the midst of this silent evaluation, a younger villager, her eyes warm yet inquisitive, stepped forward and offered a tentative smile. "Perhaps," she said gently, "your journey has been as difficult as it was necessary. We have all known the sting of exile." Her words, though soft, broke through the tension, offering Aurora a glimmer of reassurance amid the relentless scrutiny. The atmosphere was cinematic in its contrasts. The cool morning light that bathed the square, the flickering candlelight in doorways, and the somber expressions of the elders interwoven with flashes of youthful empathy. Each detail, the worn stone, the rustle of ancient ivy, the murmurs of approval and dissent, formed a tapestry of a community defined by both unity and internal strife. In that moment, Aurora felt herself on the precipice of a profound transformation. The path ahead was uncertain, burdened with the expectations of an age-old prophecy, yet also filled with the promise of belonging and renewal. With every measured step, she realized that meeting the pack was not merely an introduction. It was an invitation to challenge the boundaries of her old life and embrace a destiny that would forever alter her understanding of home. The council hall was steeped in an atmosphere of palpable tension, its stone walls echoing with the murmurs of age-old tradition and the weight of unspoken judgments. Aurora stood before the assembly of elders, her presence small, yet defiant amid the imposing circle of authority. The flickering candlelight cast long, trembling shadows across their stern faces, each wrinkle and furrowed brow narrating stories of wisdom, loss, and unyielding resolve. At the heart of the debate, the eldest among them, a man with silver hair and eyes as cold and piercing as winter's chill, fixed his gaze upon her. His voice, low and resonant, broke the silence with a measured authority. "Who are you to claim a place among us?" he demanded, each word heavy with centuries of tradition. His tone was not without a hint of challenge, an invitation to justify her very existence in a community built on loyalty and unwavering heritage. Aurora's heart pounded as she searched for the words that could bridge the chasm between her. Outside her past and the future that beckoned with both promise and peril. "I am Aurora," she began, her voice steady despite the storm of emotions raging within her. "I have come seeking not only refuge but a chance to be part of something greater, a destiny that, I believe, has always been written for me." Her declaration, soft yet resolute, hung in the air, sparking a flurry of glances among the gathered elders. The council's reaction was a symphony of silence and subtle dissent. Some elders exchanged sharp, questioning looks, their eyes narrowing as if trying to read the depths of her soul. Others maintained a guarded neutrality, their posture rigid with the weight of duty and tradition. The tension in the room was as thick as the incense that curled in the dim light, every glance and slight movement charged with unspoken evaluation. One of the younger elders, his expression softer but no less resolute, leaned forward and spoke in a tone laced with both caution and curiosity. "Perhaps fate has a way of weaving unexpected threads into our tapestry," he suggested, his words a quiet counterpoint to the stern demands of his peers. Yet even his voice, though gentle, carried the weight of a legacy that would not be so easily rewritten. As the debate grew more intense, the air seemed to vibrate with the echoes of ancient oaths and unresolved grievances. A sharp exchange of words ensued, each sentence punctuated by the clatter of shifting chairs and the measured tap of an elder's cane against the stone floor. "Tradition must be upheld," declared another elder, his eyes blazing with a fervor that bordered on defiance. "We cannot allow the sanctity of our bond to be diluted by the whims of a stranger." His tone was uncompromising, each syllable a reminder of the strict codes that governed their way of life. Aurora felt the full force of their scrutiny, an intense, silent trial where every gesture, every furrowed brow, was a verdict on her very soul. The council hall, with its ancient beams and time-worn stone, became a crucible in which her worth was measured against the relentless march of destiny. In that charged moment, she knew that her future would hinge on the outcome of this confrontation, a choice between clinging to the remnants of a world she had outgrown, or embracing a new identity, forged in the fires of transformation. A heavy pause descended as the eldest regarded her one final time. His eyes, though hard and unyielding, seemed to betray a glimmer of possibility, a silent acknowledgement that change, though daunting, was inevitable. "You stand before us with a claim that defies the very fabric of our tradition," he intoned. "But destiny, as ancient and inscrutable as it is, often demands sacrifice and courage in equal measure." In that lingering silence, every heart in the council hall beat as one, an undercurrent of hope, mingling with the rigid demands of custom. The air was thick with the promise of impending change, and Aurora knew that her journey, and that of the pack itself, was on the cusp of transformation. The atmosphere within the pack grew increasingly tense as the elders and younger members alike began to reveal their true allegiances. Aurora could sense the internal divisions pulsing beneath every whispered conversation and sidelong glance. In the communal hall, where unity was once the unspoken creed, murmurs of dissent now mingled with cautious hope. Some faces shone with an eagerness to embrace change, their eyes reflecting the possibility of a brighter, more inclusive future. Others, however, wore expressions of deep-rooted fear, a fear of upsetting traditions that had held the pack together for generations. At one end of the hall, a group of younger members exchanged tentative smiles, their voices soft, yet determined as they spoke of progress and evolution. "Perhaps her arrival is a sign," one murmured, his tone imbued with hopeful curiosity. "A chance to break free from the old ways and build something new." These voices, though few, resonated with a quiet optimism that promised transformation and unity, a future where the boundaries between human and wolf might blur into a richer, more dynamic tapestry. Across the room, however, hardened gazes and clenched jaws betrayed a different sentiment. A faction led by a stern elder, whose eyes burned with a traditional fire, voiced their opposition openly. "She is a human," he declared, his words slicing through the murmurs like a cold blade. "Her presence undermines everything we stand for. Our ways are sacred and must remain untainted." His proclamation was met with murmurs of agreement from those who clung to the old order, their voices echoing the sentiments of generations that revered the strict codes of their ancestry. The clash of these perspectives, hope warring with entrenched conservatism, filled the room with a charged energy that was as palpable as it was unsettling. Amid the rising tension, the subtle body language of the pack members spoke volumes. Those who supported her integration leaned forward, their postures open and inviting, while others shrank back, their arms folded defensively, as if to shield themselves from an impending threat. The air was thick with unspoken questions. Could the bonds of tradition withstand this sudden shift? What would be the cost of accepting such a radical change? The division within the pack did more than merely highlight differing opinions. It foreshadowed the battles that lay ahead. Whispers of potential conflict, a showdown between the old guard and those ready to embrace a new way of life, spread like wildfire. In hushed tones, some predicted that this internal strife might soon escalate into open discord, forcing the pack to choose sides in a battle not only for their traditions, but for the very soul of their kind. Aurora stood at the center of this maelstrom of conflicting loyalties, feeling the weight of each judgment cast upon her. Every wary look and every dismissive gesture was a reminder of the monumental task before her, not merely to carve out a place in the pack, but to bridge the chasm between centuries of established order and the promise of an uncertain yet alluring future. The tension was not solely about her integration. It was about the future of the entire pack, a future that now teetered on the edge of transformation and strife. As the council meeting drew to a close, the unresolved discord hung in the air like a storm cloud. There was a sense of impending upheaval, a silent warning that the path ahead would be fraught with challenges and internal battles. In that charged moment, Aurora could feel the profound significance of her decision, the realization that her destiny was now inextricably linked with the fate of the pack. The divisions were not merely ideological differences. They were the prelude to a clash of ancient loyalties and emerging hopes, a conflict that would test the very foundations of their world. In the quiet aftermath of the internal debates, a new murmur began to ripple through the enclave, a whisper of an enemy beyond their borders. The name Fenry was spoken in hushed tones, like a forbidden incantation, carrying with it the weight of ancient grudges and a threat that loomed ever larger. Aurora could feel the collective unease of the pack as the conversation shifted from introspection to the reality of impending conflict. The fragile peace that had held the enclave together now trembled on the edge of a blade, its tenuous threads stretched by the foreboding promise of war. Late one evening, as the encampment gathered in a semicircle beneath the waning light, the elders exchanged furtive glances and murmured words of caution. "The Fenry clan grows bolder with each passing day," one elder intoned, his voice low and resonant. "Their ambitions are as relentless as the winter wind, and it is said that they have been watching us, waiting for the moment to strike." The sound of his words sent a shiver through the assembly, the tension thickening like an impending storm. Even those who had once dared to entertain hope now wore expressions of grim determination and silent dread. Aurora, standing on the periphery of the somber congregation, felt the atmosphere shift. The enclave, which had long been a sanctuary of whispered traditions and quiet defiance, now pulsed with the electric energy of impending battle. Every face was etched with the resolve of warriors and the vulnerability of those who knew that the coming conflict would not only test their strength, but would redefine their very existence. The night was heavy with anticipation, a silent, collective heartbeat that quickened with each passing moment. Outside, the wind carried with it the distant howls of Fenry scouts, a spectral echo that mingled with the rustle of ancient trees and the crackle of dying embers. The air was charged with an otherworldly electricity, as though nature itself had sensed the approaching maelstrom. In that moment, the boundaries between internal strife and external threat blurred, the very fabric of the enclave's existence trembling on the brink of transformation. It was not merely a battle of arms that awaited them, but a clash of destinies, a war that would force each member of the pack to confront not only their enemies, but also the deepest, most hidden aspects of their own souls. Ronan's voice, steady and resolute, broke through the murmurs as he addressed the gathering. "We have long lived in a fragile peace, a peace that has shielded us from the chaos beyond these woods. But the Fenry are coming, and with them, the winds of change. It is our duty to stand together, to defend our traditions and our future." His words were both a rallying cry and a solemn reminder of the stakes at hand. In his eyes burned a fierce determination, a promise that he would lead his pack through the darkness into a dawn of renewed hope, or, if necessary, into the crucible of battle. Aurora listened, her mind swirling with conflicting emotions. The whispers of war stirred her deepest fears, yet also ignited a spark of courage within her. Could she, an outsider once burdened by a life of isolation, now become a part of something larger, a force that could shape the destiny of this ancient wild people? The prospect was as daunting as it was exhilarating, a call to arms that beckoned with the promise of transformation and unity. In that charged moment, as the last vestiges of peace gave way to the rumblings of conflict, the enclave braced itself. The silent gathering of tension, the storm of emotions that swirled around them, was the prelude to a dramatic shift, a transition from internal debates to the fiery crucible of external war. And as the night deepened, the ominous echoes of the Fenry threat grew louder, heralding the dawn of a battle that would forever alter the course of their lives. Under the light of a cold, indifferent moon, the battle erupted with a sudden, explosive fury. Shadows burst from the tree line as the Fenry attackers emerged. their forms dark and menacing against the silver glow. The quiet of the night shattered into chaos. Shouts, snarls, and the clashing of weapons filled the air. Every sound was sharp and unforgiving. Aurora's heart pounded as she leapt into the fray. The world became a blur of motion, a swirling dance of limbs and fury. In one moment, she ducked as a blade sliced past her. In the next, she countered with a swift, desperate strike. The intensity of the conflict left no room for hesitation. Every movement was driven by raw survival instincts. Ronan, now transformed into his imposing wolf form, roared his defiance. His massive presence cut through the enemy ranks like a force of nature. Claws and fangs raked at the attackers. The sight was both awe-inspiring and terrifying. A primal display of power in full command. His every step echoed with the weight of centuries of ancestral strength, rallying the pack as chaos surged around them. Amid the frenzied melee, Aurora fought with a determination that belied her earlier uncertainty. Her arms flailed, her breath came in short gasps, and every muscle strained against the relentless onslaught. She dodged, parried, and struck back, her actions a raw blend of fear and courage. The sound of clashing steel, the sharp crack of splintering wood, and the guttural roars of combatants filled the night. It was a symphony of violence, a chaotic cadence that drove her forward step after step. The ground trembled beneath the weight of the battle. Bodies moved like restless shadows, every action interwoven with the rhythm of survival. A heavy thud, a quick slice. Each moment was captured in a heartbeat. Aurora's eyes darted across the battlefield, absorbing every detail. The determined faces of her newfound allies, the savage expressions of the Fenri, and the fleeting flashes of desperation and valor. The environment itself seemed to rebel. The wind whipped and moaned, carrying with it the scent of blood and rain-drenched earth. In the midst of the conflict, Aurora's inner struggle was palpable. Every instinct urged her to retreat, to find shelter in the safety of the familiar. Yet her resolve burned fiercely. She knew that this battle was not just about repelling an external enemy. It was about proving her place among these fierce, wild souls. Every blow she exchanged, every narrow escape from a lethal strike, was a testament to her transformation. The chaos around her was both a crucible and a catalyst for change. Short, rapid moments stretched into what felt like an eternity. A flash of metal grazed her arm. She winced as pain seared through her, a stark reminder of the stakes. Still, she fought on, driven by a mix of terror and hope. The chaos under the moon was overwhelming, but within that tumult lay the promise of rebirth. Every instinct, every drop of sweat and spur of adrenaline wove together to create a new narrative of defiance and unity. As the battle raged, the tide began to turn. The Fenri, though fierce, were caught off guard by the resolute strength of the pack. Ronan's powerful form, combined with the determination of each fighter, gradually pushed the enemy back. Amid the swirling madness, Aurora's heart found a steady rhythm, a pulse of courage that resonated with the very spirit of the enclave. The moon bore silent witness to the struggle, its pale light glinting off weapons and reflecting the raw, unyielding resolve of those who dared to fight. In that night of unrelenting violence and fearsome beauty, the battle was more than a clash of arms. It was a defining moment, a moment where every cry, every scar, and every triumph became a testament to the enduring power of unity and transformation. Amid the relentless chaos of battle, as the frenzied clash of steel and the savage roar of the enemy echoed all around her, Aurora felt something shift deep within. With a flash of determination, she moved as if propelled by a force she had never known, an inner power that surged like electricity through her veins. In that critical moment, her every instinct was honed to a razor's edge. She no longer fought as an uncertain outsider, but as a warrior reborn. Her body responded with an agility that defied her earlier hesitations. Each movement became a graceful blend of instinct and newfound strength. When a sharp blow narrowly missed her, she countered with a swift, powerful strike that sent an enemy staggering backward. The transformation was visceral. Her muscles tensed and relaxed with perfect precision, her reflexes quickening as if time itself had slowed. The pain of past defeats melted away, replaced by an exhilarating surge of adrenaline that sharpened her senses and ignited her spirit. In the heat of combat, Aurora's inner monologue roared louder than the clashing of weapons. "I am more than what I was," she whispered to herself, as she blocked a vicious swipe and retaliated with a swift kick. The words became a mantra, echoing in the recesses of her mind, affirming her rising courage. Every breath she drew filled her with the promise of transformation, a promise that she would no longer be defined by fear or uncertainty. The chaos around her faded into a distant blur as the focus of her will crystallized. She was determined to forge her own destiny in the crucible of this battle. The surge of energy was not just physical. It radiated from deep within, a mysterious power that seemed to be awakened by the very intensity of the fight. Her vision, once clouded by doubt, now cleared, revealing each detail of the battlefield with startling clarity. In the heat of combat, she moved like a force of nature, every strike and parry resonating with the heartbeat of the earth itself. Her transformation was marked by a change in her demeanor. Where once hesitation held her back, now an unyielding resolve took its place. Her eyes, alight with fierce determination, met those of her adversaries with the unspoken promise of retribution and protection. The adrenaline coursing through her veins mingled with an emotional liberation, a release from the chains of her past. Each movement on the battlefield was a declaration of independence from a life of confinement and doubt. As she parried another blow, the clash of metal on metal became the symphony of her metamorphosis. She began to weave a tapestry of strength, every calculated maneuver a stroke in the painting of her heroic evolution. The rhythm of combat became her new heartbeat, pulsing in sync with the relentless determination that had taken hold of her soul. For a fleeting moment, as the battle raged on and the night sky burned bright with the reflections of clashing forces, Aurora recognized the magnitude of her own transformation. The frightened, uncertain woman she once was had given way to a warrior forged in the flames of adversity, a hero emerging from the shadows. In that electrifying instant, with every fiber of her being alight with purpose, she understood that this was her destiny. No longer confined to the margins of life, Aurora now stood at the center of her own legend, ready to defend not only herself, but also the future of those who believed in the power of change. And so, as the storm of combat swirled around her, she embraced her role, rising as a hero, a testament to the indomitable spirit that can emerge when an outsider dares to confront her inner demons and transform them into an unstoppable force of courage. In the quiet that followed the fury of battle, the moon still shone overhead, a silent witness to the carnage and transformation that had just unfolded. The clash of weapons and cries of combat had given way to a solemn hush, a pause where even the wind seemed to weep. Aurora stood amid the ruins of the battlefield, her eyes taking in the scattered forms of fallen foes and allies alike. The air was heavy with the mingled sense of rain, blood, and scorched earth, a poignant reminder of the cost of victory. Slowly, as the adrenaline ebbed away, the pack gathered around the wounded. Their voices, once fierce with defiance, now softened into murmurs of concern and reassurance. Amid the collective tending of injuries and the silent sharing of glances heavy with unspoken emotion, a raw vulnerability settled over the survivors. Aurora could feel the weight of each breath, a mixture of relief, sorrow, and the exhaustion of having faced her deepest fears. She moved through the aftermath with cautious steps, each footfall echoing against the broken stones and shattered remnants of the skirmish. The battlefield, now a canvas of ruined armor, spilled weapons, and trampled earth, was at once a monument to both loss and rebirth. In the reflective stillness, The taste of change was palpable, a bittersweet reminder that victory always carried its own price. The triumph of the pack was undeniable, yet it was shadowed by the sorrow of those who had fallen and the realization that nothing would ever be the same again. Aurora paused beside a fallen comrade, her hand instinctively reaching out to offer what little comfort she could. In that moment, her eyes met those of a fellow fighter, and without words, an unspoken promise passed between them, a pledge of unity, resilience, and the shared burden of transformation. The heavy silence was punctuated by soft sighs and the low hum of voices as the wounded were whispered comfort, and the elders issued quiet instructions. It was as if, in the aftermath of chaos, the pack was beginning to stitch together the torn fabric of their collective soul. In the stillness of the night, as the storm's echoes faded into distant memory, Aurora found herself reflecting on the journey that had led them all to this point. The relentless battle had stripped away not only the physical defenses of their foes, but also the illusions that had once confined her. Here, in the ruins, she recognized the paradox of victory. It was both an end and a beginning. The remnants of the night's struggle left behind scars that would heal, but also marks that would forever remind them of the price of change. The vulnerability that filled her heart was tempered by a newfound sense of unity. In the quiet aftermath, the pack was no longer a collection of individuals bound by tradition alone, but a family forged in the crucible of shared hardship. Each person's pain, every loss and every small victory, wove together to create an unbreakable tapestry of resolve and hope. The lingering taste of change was not bitter, but a call to rebuild, to honor those who had fallen by embracing the uncertain future ahead. Aurora looked out toward the horizon, where the first hints of dawn began to dispel the darkness. The soft glow of early light promised renewal, a fragile yet powerful reminder that from the ashes of conflict, life could emerge anew. In that reflective moment, she understood that the battle had been more than a fight for survival. It was a journey of transformation, a defining moment that would echo through every heartbeat of the pack. As the survivors gathered in a circle amid the ruins, their eyes shone with raw emotion, sorrow for what was lost, and a steadfast determination to honor what must come. In that silent communion, Aurora felt the deep stirrings of a unity that would carry them forward into a future where hope and resilience reigned, even in the wake of chaos. In the soft glow of the early morning, as the remnants of battle lay, quiet, and the pack slowly began to heal, a moment of profound transformation unfolded. The air, still laced with the faint scent of rain and earth, carried with it an aura of renewal. In the center of the communal circle, surrounded by both weary survivors and determined elders, an elder of distinguished bearing stepped forward. His eyes, holding years of wisdom and the unspoken legacy of the enclave, met Aurora's with a look that blended stern tradition with gentle invitation. Slowly, with deliberate reverence, he produced a silver pendant from the folds of his time-worn cloak, a delicate piece that shimmered softly in the light. "Aurora," he intoned, his voice warm yet imbued with the gravity of centuries past. "This pendant is the mark of our kin. It symbolizes not only the enduring bond of our pack, but also the transformative journey that has brought you to us." The pendant, intricately designed with subtle motifs of wolves and ancient symbols, seemed to capture the very essence of the pack's spirit, a legacy of unity forged in the crucible of struggle and hope. As he extended the pendant towards her, time appeared to slow. Every eye in the circle was fixed upon Aurora, and in that suspended moment, she felt the weight of her past, of loneliness, confinement, and the relentless search for belonging, begin to dissolve. The silver pendant glowed as if it contained a promise of rebirth, a quiet assurance that she was finally home. With trembling hands, she accepted the gift, and as her fingers closed around it, an unspoken warmth spread through her, mingling with the residual echoes of the night's battle. Ronan stepped forward then, his presence both protective and tender. His gaze, still radiant with the golden fire of inner resolve, met hers, and in that silent exchange, an unbreakable bond was forged, a connection that transcended words and spoke directly to the heart. "You belong with us," he murmured, his voice low and sincere, "and together we will face the future, no matter how uncertain it may be." His words, simple yet laden with meaning, resonated in the stillness of that sacred space, reinforcing the deep emotional ties that had been nurtured through shared struggle and the promise of a new beginning. Around them, the pack watched with expressions that shifted from cautious skepticism to a genuine warmth, as if witnessing the dawning of a new era. The previously divided voices, once echoing with dissent and fear, now blended into a harmonious murmur of acceptance. It was as if the very act of bestowing the pendant had healed old wounds and unified disparate hearts, weaving Aurora into the fabric of the enclave. In that moment, she was no longer an outsider lost on a winding road. She was an integral member of a family that thrived on the ancient bond of kinship and mutual protection. The elder's eyes softened as he spoke once more. "Let this pendant be a reminder of your courage, of the journey you have undertaken, and of the strength we share. May it guide you as you embrace your destiny with us." His words, gentle yet resolute, floated in the crisp morning air, wrapping around Aurora like a comforting embrace. The tangible symbol of the silver pendant, glinting softly against her chest, signified more than just acceptance. It was a testament to her rebirth, her transformation from a solitary wanderer into a warrior with purpose, embraced by a community that revered unity above all. In that radiant, uplifting moment, Aurora felt an overwhelming surge of belonging. The pain of her past, the uncertainty of her journey, all gave way to a newfound hope and a promise of collective strength. With the pendant as her mark of belonging and Ronan's steady presence by her side, she stepped forward into the light, a beacon of unity and resilience among the pack, ready to write the next chapter of her destiny together with her newfound family. As the first light of dawn began to break over the horizon, Aurora and Ronan stood together on a small rise overlooking the transformed landscape. The night's tumult and the fierce battle that had reshaped their lives now lay behind them like a fading dream. In the soft golden glow of the emerging day, the world seemed reborn, a canvas freshly painted with hope, unity, and the promise of new beginnings. Aurora's gaze swept over the enclave, where stone cottages and ivy-clad walls now resonated with the quiet assurance of community. The lingering mists of the storm had given way to the crisp clarity of morning, and every detail of the once eerie forest had softened into an embrace of nature's gentle rebirth. The air was filled with the subtle fragrance of damp earth and wildflowers, as if the land itself celebrated the victory of light over darkness. Beside her, Ronan's presence was a steady, reassuring force. His eyes, still aglow with the remnants of the previous night's passion and transformation, met hers with a look that spoke of unwavering commitment. Together, they had weathered not only the physical storm, but also the emotional tempest of loss, fear, and ultimately, triumph. In that quiet moment, the journey they had undertaken, from a lonely escape on a desolate road, through a night of surreal magic and battle, to finding a home among kindred spirits, seemed to converge into a single, luminous point of clarity. The trials of the past few days, filled with ancient prophecies and fierce conflicts, had forged a new path for them. Aurora felt that each challenge had stripped away layers of her old self, revealing a core of strength and resilience she never knew existed. Ronan, with his mystic heritage and timeless wisdom, had become not only her protector, but also a mirror reflecting the potential for profound change. Their bond had transcended mere survival. It was a convergence of destiny and free will, a union that promised to alter the very fabric of their future. As the sun climbed higher, casting long, hopeful rays across the land, the enclave stirred with renewed energy. The people moved with purpose, their faces etched with the determination of those who had survived the storm. In that moment, unity replaced division, and the scars of past conflicts began to heal. The promise of a new dawn was more than just a change in light. It was a metamorphosis of spirit, a collective rebirth of a community that now understood that true strength came from embracing both the light and the darkness. Aurora and Ronan exchanged a look laden with quiet wonder and anticipation. They knew that this was not the end, but rather the beginning of a new chapter, a future that would be written in the delicate interplay of hope and challenge, tradition and innovation. The journey ahead was uncertain, its path uncharted and winding, yet the promise of what might be was too compelling to ignore. In the gentle hush of the morning, as the sun's rays spread warmth over the land, a lingering question echoed softly in the air, a question meant for all who had followed their story. What comes next? Will the forces that once threatened their unity rise again, or will the bonds forged in the fires of conflict prove strong enough to carry them into a future of shared dreams? This question, wrapped in the silence of a new dawn, invited reflection and discussion, urging each listener to consider the nature of destiny and the power of transformation. In that final radiant moment, Aurora and Ronan stood together, a symbol of resilience, unity, and the endless possibility of renewal. The new day had arrived, and with it, a promising future beckoned, leaving hearts and minds open to the eternal dance between fate and free will.